Hey everyone, it's Ivan with kitbadger.com, out here for another gear review, and today I'm talking pistol lights. This guy right here, which is the Surefire XC3. You're probably familiar with Surefire. They make suppressors, all kinds of illumination tools. This right here being one of their EDC lights, the Stiletto Pro 2 it is. And then they make all kinds of weapon lights. So you have stuff like the scout lights for rifles. You also have their other pistol lights, X300 Turbo, X300 Ultra, both bigger form factor. And now you have this, which is their XC3, a pretty small, compact pistol light. A while ago, I actually reviewed another of Surefire's kind of smaller form factor lights. I think it was the XR1, XR2, I forget the nomenclature. And again, smaller form factor, actually had two emitters, and it had a removable, rechargeable battery. There were a lot of things I actually really liked about that, but there were also some things where like the market didn't like as much. On the one hand, rechargeable batteries, they're amazing, but lots of times people are like, hey, give me a CR123 and I can just swap it, which I can appreciate. The other thing is form factor. It definitely had a smaller form factor, so it didn't protrude like an X300 or something like that from like a pistol. This right here is a Echelon compact 4.0, think Glock 19 size basically. And so again, it was a small form factor, but it also wasn't a common form factor. And so something you run into, whether it's an actual pistol or a light, if it is like largely deviates from a couple footprints, it can be hard to find a holster for. And so as a consequence, if you can't find a good holster for the light that you're carrying on your gun, then you don't carry it on your gun because you don't have a way to carry it. And it was supported, just not hugely supported. I think the holster I was running was from QVO, Quick Violent Over, and great holster. But fast forward, they ended up coming out with this guy right here, which is the XC3, and it does a lot of really cool stuff. The light is activated by these paddles on either side of the light body, and you have basically press it once and it goes to constant on, or if you press and hold, it will be momentary. And then right here, it basically shows a lockout. So right there, it is locked in the up position. If you bring it down, you'll feel a click. And now the light is actually locked out for storage, transport, things like that. And then down one more, and you can remove that. And then inside, you have a single CR123. If you forget which way it goes, it's laser etched there. And when you put this back on, there's a little white indicator that goes there. Click it up, we're locked out. One more, and we're good to go. And as I mentioned, size-wise, this is roughly like Glock 19 size, and so it doesn't really protrude past your muzzle. And again, easy wings to kind of activate on either side of that. Pretty cool little light. As far as activation goes, pretty intuitive. You can obviously activate it with your trigger finger if you need to, click it on, or momentary, or of course your support hand, basically press, momentary, scan, do whatever you need to do. Pretty similar to a like TLR7, I guess it is, which speaking of that, while this does not look like a TLR7, it actually shares the same footprint, which is pretty cool when it comes to holsters, because as I mentioned before, if you can't find a holster for your weapon light, then you can't carry it because, oh well. So pretty much every holster that will fit a TLR7 will fit the XR3. This right here is by Blackpoint Tactical. Awesome holster, works really well, solid lockup, and things I actually do like about this. By the way, this is their FO3, forward of 3. Essentially made to carry roughly around 3 o'clock, just forward of. So you have a leather wing back there, and then this pretty much on the body. And with these DCC clips, they will grab anything. By way of example, I'm actually wearing backpacking pants right now, so no belt, not even a provision for it. There's not even belt loops. But those things will absolutely grab, so holster stays put. you need to draw your pistol out, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I guess I can talk to how I've used it, how it's done for me. I've actually shot this light quite a bit, sometimes just honestly out there at range sessions, just getting time with it, shooting at different distances, and then housework, like kind of where else would you use a light? And so with that, being able to go through different live fire shoot houses, one I'm fortunate to actually have up near my house, and being able to go through the house and solve problems as needed. And then the other place I actually took it was down to Thunder Ranch. I shot I guess it was their HIT, High Intensity Tactics class. Basically like a progression of pistol classes where you do a lot of things. One of them is actually working through the shoot house. And again, just solving problems as you see them. And this thing's rad, like absolutely performed where I need to perform as far as just illuminating things that I couldn't see, or even if there was some illumination, being able to push more illumination back, especially just checking maybe behind doors, things along those lines. And yeah, it does a very good job. With respect to output on this light, it has 550 lumens and 7200 candela, and it's a hybrid beam pattern. What does all that stuff mean? Basically, well, I'll show you here in a second, but more or less it's a compromise. So rather than a really tight hotspot, something like a really high candela light, this gives you a good bit of flood to work with, which honestly is kind of my preference with respect to like an everyday carry light, something like that. Because realistically, it's probably used in your house or, I don't know, dark parking lots, something along those lines. And while I do appreciate a really tight, far-reaching beam, the place that really shines, pun intended, is, in my opinion, usually something along the lines of law enforcement. Example scenario. Cop gets called to a school for an active shooter. You have really long hallways, you have windows, so you have all this sunlight cutting in and a bunch of pools of shadow. Someone at the far end of this hall, boom, a lot of liability with every single press of that trigger. And so being able to have a really tight hotspot that pushes past all of those different shadows to basically identify a target, like, hey, is this a threat or not? Conversely, that's not usually the scenario I find myself in. So, hey, it's 3 in the morning. Does this person belong in my house or not? Do they have a weapon or not? Plenty of light for that. And also with that, as far as burn time goes, 1 3/4 hours, which is actually quite a bit of burn time, and IPX7 waterproof rating, if that matters too also. But to kind of get a good idea of what kind of light this thing's throwing, I actually went out with a friend and I will show you what this thing puts out. Basically between this as well as the X300 Turbo and the X300 Ultra. Again, pulling slides off guns, not pointing guns at anyone, but yeah, show you what it is. Right here we are at 10 yards, and here is the Surefire XC3. Again, 10 yards with the XC3. And still at 10 yards, this time with the Surefire X300 Ultra. 10 yards with the Ultra. And lastly, to burn my friend's retinas out, the X300 Turbo at 10 yards. Sorry, that was just egregious, but yeah. All right, 10 yards. All right, now I'm back here at 25 yards and starting off with the Surefire XC3. Again, 25 yards with the XC3. Now switching over to the Surefire X300 Ultra. Oh, sorry, that was a turbo. Okay, now switching over to the Surefire X300 Ultra. Again, at 25 yards. And lastly, Surefire X300 Turbo. Again, 25 yards. All right, now back here at 50 yards and starting off again with the Surefire XC3. Definitely as an observer, like I can see some hand movement, but hard to tell what is actually in the hand back here at 50. And moving on to the Surefire X300 Ultra. Again, same thing. Can see some hand movement, can't tell what's in the hand. And then finally, back here at 50 yards, the X300 Ultra. I can definitely make out a little more that there is actually a pistol in the hand, but still pretty hard to see, especially on the black. Couldn't really make out the actual pistol until it crossed in front of the lighter colored pants. Again, 50 yards with the Ultra.
So 10 yards, the first two were pretty comparable. Maybe the Ultra was a touch brighter, but then once the turbo turned on, that was definitely the hardest one to look at. I lost everything. My eyes watered almost immediately. And then the next one back, so 25 yards, same thing. The first and second one, pretty similar, although I do think the Ultra was a little bit brighter. But the turbo, once again, once that turned on, I saw nothing but spots. And then at distance, same thing, very comparable. But then the turbo, for sure, I knew when that one was on. No question about it.
What are my thoughts? Honestly, I'm really impressed with this light. With respect to this tiny, small package, it puts out quite a bit of light. And yeah, I've been really pleased with it. Who do I think this light would be good for? Honestly, most people with respect to concealed carry. There's a lot of people that carry like appendix in the waistband, X300 Ultras or turbos. Cool, you can definitely do it. This is a much smaller package, and with respect to the Ultra, pretty comparable output, like in my opinion. It does kind of all the things. It is not a turbo. Does your use case call for a turbo? I have no idea. As I mentioned, I would rather have something with more of a flood for me personally with respect to how I intend to use this thing. As far as having that small form factor, definitely nicer in my experience with respect to carrying this thing holstered and concealed. And as I mentioned, very well supported. There's tons and tons of holsters out there for it. But if it's something you're interested in, there'll be links down below and you can check it out. Other thing I will say I do appreciate about Surefire is they have awesome warranty. Haven't really used it, and they're actually made here in the States, which depending can be important to some people or maybe not. But if you're interested, there'll be links down below. You can check it out. And as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.